Welcome to Dr. ETV. I'm Dr. Espen. Today, I am joined by Craig Siegel, a brother that I've had a chance to chat to before. Craig is a value-based, high-energy keynote speaker, rising thought leader, and is featured in Entrepreneur and endorsed by some of the world's most known celebrities and entertainers and athletes and entrepreneurs around the world, such as Rob Dyrdek, Mylett, Bethany Hamilton, Suzanne Somers, Alicia Silverstone, and NFL Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins. Okay. When the pandemic first happened, Craig felt guided to leave his lucrative and stable job on Wall Street. This is a conversation that we had last time. So he goes from a highly successful, well-paid job on Wall Street to following his own passion and purpose to help other people upgrade their mindset and fulfill their potential. Craig's unique combination of energy, which I know because I've chatted with him before, so this is going to be an epic interview today. His combination of energy, motivation, inspiration, charisma, and business success has led to some amazing successes in his life, particularly the rise of what's called Cultivate Lasting Symphony, or the CLS experience, which when I went on it and I had the chance to be interviewed, I realized how much of an impact he's having. He's impacting millions of lives worldwide with the CLS experience and other things that he's doing. So I want to say a special welcome, Craig. How are you this evening for you? How are you doing?
My goodness, what an introduction. First of all, it's an honor to be here. You and I hit it off right out the gate. You made a massive impact on me. I'm excited to be here. It's nice that we're turning the tables on me and so forth. And the best part is our friendship is just getting warmed up. I appreciate everything you said, and I'm ready to rock. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Okay, so before we get into where you are now, tell us a little bit about who you were before you became the person that you are today.
Yeah, that's pretty deep stuff because I don't know if I want to go back, but let's talk about it. Let's unravel a little bit. I needed to really shed some old identities, old stories, people in my life I need to let go of and so forth. So for the last 13 years before the pandemic, I was on Wall Street, did the stock thing, and then it was a lot of fun until it wasn't. And then I pivoted and started my own business where we basically provided capital to small business all across the country. And something I learned, Dr. Espen, in that journey, in that season of life, and I think you can relate to this as well, is as it turns out, making money doesn't necessarily equal success, right? Happiness does, or how big of an impact you're making and so forth. And so I was always looking for some sort of validation. I grew up a little bit short. And maybe I was a little bit insecure, self-conscious. I was always looking for an outlet, looking for some sort of recognition. That's how I seek validation about 10 years ago. Somebody said, oh, nice watch, you're crushing it on Wall Street, or pretty girlfriend, or nice apartment in New York City. Boy, have things changed. My biggest source of validation is going to be when somebody listens to this conversation, comes back to me and says, I heard you with Dr. Espen. Something you said really helped me change my perspective. But ultimately, that's who I was. I had a bit of an ego, to say it lightly. And it's funny because I never really shredded myself like this in public. But you asked, and that's what makes the transformation so powerful, right? And it's like you always like to say, in the trauma is where the transformation happened. So I just got to a point where I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't love the relationships I had, specifically my partner. I just didn't like the reflection I saw in the mirror. I wasn't happy. I always knew I was here for more. And when I say more, I would be very clear. I don't mean like more success and more fame. I meant like more fulfilling, making more of an impact, making more of a contribution to this world. And that's who I was before I pivoted and reinvented myself.
Beautiful, Craig. Now, for those listening, I just want to speak to this for a moment as well, because I went through a very similar journey. You know, I owned 8 clinics at the time where we hired all kinds of medical doctors and different kinds of physicians, and we had pathology, radiology, and you name it, everything in one-stop shop, dentistry. And so I became financially successful, business successful at a young age. And just like you, Craig, there was something I felt there was a void. There was something missing. I was like, who am I now? Like, look, I've got the brand new Tesla. I've got a penthouse right on the beach. And I've got everything on the outside, but why the F am I still not happy in my life. And when I sat with myself, I recognized it was because I had made my life happiness part of all the things that I had accumulated on the outside. And as I say, when the void on the inside is there, you accumulate things on the outside to fill that void. And so I did the same thing. I went to a yoga class, and my teacher just once said, and this was a powerful quote. He said, "The things that you think you own, they own you, for they occupy time and space in the already too busy mind." So I had the same experience, bro. And then, so this is then very likely to resonate with a lot of people that have strived for materialistic success or fame and still find themselves feeling something missing on the inside. So what were the biggest challenges for you up until this point?
Yeah, this is going to be fun. There's just so much chemistry between you and I, and you always bring out the best in me. Some of the biggest challenges, straight up, what we're believing in the quantum and this energy field and beyond our senses, right? Everything else, which is really the important stuff, the stuff that you can't see. I just couldn't get behind it from my ego standpoint. I was a mindset guy, but the spirituality stuff, the secret, the woo-woo stuff, it just seemed too unrealistic to me, right? And then I started to buy in a little bit. Ultimately, last year, I had a speaking engagement. I got injured, if you recall, and there was a tumor in my foot. And I
Indeed.
was that?
Yeah, I said, indeed. How's that going now?
Everything's great. Actually, I'm running the Chicago Marathon this Sunday, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, boy.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But when that happened for me, not to me, although for the audience listening, it doesn't always feel so good at the time, but when you take that approach to life, you start to lean into and embrace all adversity, obstacles, and challenges because you know somehow this is qualifying you and you're going to grow more from it. But when that happened, I had surgery. Tumor came back benign, thank God, but I was on crutches and I had stitches in my foot. And I couldn't really work out or run or any of that stuff. And I stumbled upon Dr. Espen. I want to acknowledge you right now. I don't know how, but I know that it was not a coincidence. And I've heard this stuff before. I've watched The Secret several times. Now I'm really good friends with a lot of them, John Assaraf and so forth. But for some reason, I always found it hard to digest. Your content spoke to me. And I started to remove the ego and say, wait a minute, let me look at this stuff from a different perspective. And I've been in the quantum ever since. I mean, I just frequencies, vibrations, like I used to not understand what that means. And now it's like all I want to talk about is like being high vibe and being available for all that abundant stuff, by being a vibrational match for all the good stuff that's out there. And it just makes life so much richer, so much better, so much more fulfilling. So to answer your question in a nutshell, all this really deep stuff that we're talking about right now, and nothing against NLP and the mindset stuff, because for anyone listening, I still think that stuff is great. That's where I started the personal development journey and reprogramming the mind and stuff. But this stuff is a little bit deeper, right? In my opinion, this stuff is the difference that makes the difference. And it was challenging for me to buy into it. But once I did, everything changed for me. And that's really when I began to have quantum leaps in all facets of life, not just business.
Love it, brother. And it's so spot on, isn't it? Because often there's the aspect of the mind and, the success and all the things we talked about, but this, you mentioned fulfillment was lacking. And that is really to fill that void, right? That is there. And when we do, I think we have to really realize that there's more to us than just the body and the mind. I love that you speak to this. Okay, so you started leveraging the quantum field and understanding consciousness and having this in your life. What changed then? Because I know now you've gone from, that success on Wall Street and all the stuff that you were doing. Now, I mean, you're hanging out with the big boys, you're interviewing people, you're inspiring millions. What was the journey like? Would you say that the quantum had an effect in your life and business? And also, what are you doing now as you're shifting more into the new you?
Yeah, great thought-provoking questions. Yes, I would say that a ton of the success that we've had with CLS in terms of extending its reach has been attributed to the quantum and the energy stuff and understanding all that stuff. Because now I know how to elevate my state and stay to the best of my ability in that higher frequency, right? And now I also understand that if I'm ever feeling off or I'm not my best self, it's really just feedback from the universe, God, whatever it is that people believe in that are listening. I'm further away than I should be from the quantum field or the infinite or the vortex, whatever you want to call it. So now I have feedback. I'm aware, right? So you want to stay in that high vibe. You want to constantly feed yourself positive, empowering thoughts to create empowering beliefs, right? And I used to have imposter syndrome, or I would allow like a negative belief to really build traction inside and take up real estate. Now I realize that if I want to change the beliefs that I have, I need to first change the thoughts that I'm allowing to stick around. And by doing that and making sure I'm purposeful and intentional with those thoughts, creating better beliefs, now I can operate at that higher frequency, right? I'm vibing high. Now I'm a vibrational match. Now when I'm, it's just magnetic, right? Like when I'm around people, like a lot of these jugs, I like to call people that are a little bit further ahead, like the Ed Myletts of the world and all the people, some of our mutual friends, like I believe I belong, and not from like a cocky situation, just like I know that I have value to provide, right? I deserve a seat at the table. I'm putting in the work. We're transforming lives just like you out there. And so I think buying into all this stuff and really being a match for all that stuff has changed everything for me straight up. It really is the difference that makes a difference. And you made it so digestible, right? But it's this is a vibrational universe. And once you understand that and then work, I want to use the word manipulate because that doesn't sound right, but you work within it and use it to your advantage so that you can be that high vibe, right? It just changes everything, and it changed everything to me, specifically with CLS and the rise.
Oh, dude, this is gold. So listen here, and go back and listen to what Craig was just saying then, because he's talking about how to maintain himself in a beautiful state. And one thing that I really got from what you shared then was when you're not feeling high vibe, when you're not feeling like you're present or you're experiencing love or joy, or that you're in flow, or that you're experiencing whatever it is that you're hoping to experience while you live in a beautiful state. And I love this, as Craig said, nothing's wrong with you. It's feedback. Okay. Feedback. So if you're living in a shitty state, you're having a tough day, you're around the wrong people, you're thinking the wrong things, you haven't taken care of yourself, you haven't eaten clean, you haven't done all of these, whatever things that bring you into feeling great. It's feedback. Now think about that for a concept, because a lot of people will say there's something wrong with me because I feel so down. There's something wrong with me because I can't succeed. There's something wrong with me. Maybe there's not something wrong with you. Maybe there's something wrong, or something that could be changed about the way you're showing up in the world. Because if we know that it's possible to live in a beautiful state the absolute majority of the time, then what if indeed the thoughts and emotions and habits and patterns or whatever you're experiencing is indeed feedback? Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of feedback that you've received, Craig, as you've been on this journey and you experienced that? You talked a little bit in the beginning, right? So I experienced, I had the success and the money and that sort of stuff on Wall Street, but I was not fulfilled. So that lack of fulfillment was feedback. What are some other examples of feedback that people might be experiencing in their life?
Like empty, right? Or unhappy. Feeling like you're underachieving, like in your soul, right? In every ounce of you that you're here for more. And spoiler alert, everybody is uniquely here for a purpose, for a reason, right? We all have an assignment. It took me 35 years to find mine. But I believe that stepping into our alignment on why we're here and providing those gifts to the world is not an option. It's our job, right? And the best ROI, like the best return on investment that I can get is somebody listening to this conversation right now is going to breathe different oxygen because Dr. Espen and I showed up in alignment as authentically as we can as the highest version of ourselves, and we're having a deep, great conversation, and that inspires others to do the same, right? And like anybody out there that's playing a little bit too small right now, and look, I can always play bigger. I own that too. But if you know like you're meant for more, it's feedback that you should explore that. What are your passions? What are your gifts? You're here to make a difference, right? To if you just inspire one person in service, whatever the case would be. The whole irony is I didn't start CLS for the money, and I know you had money before you doing all this stuff, but isn't it ironic that when you really step into this and you add value to the best of your ability, the money comes. Don't even worry about that. But I think is what's most important that I want to get out of that is if you have that feedback feeling a little off, not fulfilled, not in a great state, not vibing high, then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. People often ask me, like, how do you avoid a burnout? And I always found that interesting. I'm curious to see what you think. I believe, like, if you're burnt out, you're not really doing what you absolutely love. Now listen, you have to take rest and take some time for you, fill your cup and stuff like that. But like, I could talk to you for 10 hours straight. I mean, I love this stuff. Like you can't burn me out. So if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling off, or if you wake up in the morning on Monday, like, I can't wait for the weekend. And I know, cause I've been there years back, you're not in alignment. And that, my friend, is feedback.
Oh, beautiful. So guys, if you're experiencing any of this, go back and listen to this again, watch it and write it down. And again, then ask the question, okay, what is this feedback trying to teach me? Okay, what is my higher self or the quantum field or whatever you want to call it trying to show me? Because I totally agree. I think, you know, these signs, procrastination, hesitation, frustration, desperation, depression, you mentioned anger, you're not feeling fulfilled. I believe exactly the same, that they're signs. And so let's then be grateful for these signs and then ask the question, what am I really passionate about? Dude, that is brilliant. What advice would you give to people who are wanting to achieve success?
First, identify what success means to them, right? Because it's different for everybody.
So let's write it down, what success means to you. Okay, this is good.
Yeah, like what does success look like? Like hypothetically speaking, if you were to achieve massive success, what does that mean? Is it a great spouse? Is it a career that you love? Is it money in the bank? Is it running marathons? What does that look like for you? You need to get some clarity because you can't really hit a target that you can't see. I think clarity is key. Now, for the audience listening, I want to be very clear. I wouldn't not take action until you have clarity, because I'm a big believer that clarity follows action. Sometimes you have to try some new things. You have to get your hands dirty, be willing to look silly and put yourself out there. But you should definitely have some sort of vision and some intention as well.
Oh, this is good. Okay, so we're talking clarity and action simultaneously. This is really, really good. Okay, so we're starting to gain momentum. One, we've realized that the signs from source and the unhappiness or lack of fulfillment or stress or whatever we're experiencing in our relationships, in our jobs, and with our bodies, whatever, is signs. Okay, they're feedback. Good, thank you, got it. Now I've started step number 2. I've taken the moment to turn my phone off, sit down and journal what success means to me. Okay, so I've literally taken the time to define what success means to me. And I think I love this process, bro, because I think in this, a lot of people originally will look at, okay, well, I want a nice car and I want this. And, you know, you're on Wall Street, I'm owning all the clinics and living in a penthouse. And it's easy from the outside to say that's success, but it was not. It was not. When I realized this, I sold everything I had. I bought a brand new Tesla and I sold it right afterwards. I didn't sell it because I didn't want it. I loved that car. It was so good not to use petrol and to drive a luxury car and drive fast. I was like, this is epic. But I sold it because I realized that I had an attachment to that car, because I had an attachment to the way I was perceived in the marketplace, to my branding and, you know, what people thought of me. So I needed to let it go. It was, for me, a personal development exercise of letting go of the things that I was attached to. And then I traveled to Peru and I, you know, started my journey sitting in the jungle and you know, fasting and really learning about me. So I love this second part of defining success, because I think sometimes people will see the things on the outside, but it's as Tony Robbins says, right, it's not just the science of achievement, which is what we're talking about, the things that we did, but also the art of fulfillment. So guys, when you're watching this and pausing the video and going back and watching it again, whatever you're doing, take this moment to write out, yes, perhaps the science of achievement, but also what is the art of fulfillment look like for you in terms of success? What is the art of fulfillment for you in your life, Craig? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, this is great stuff. Impact. At this point in my life, I'm most fulfilled. And I said it a couple of times, I'll say it again. When somebody listens to this conversation and they feel impacted, like we penetrated their soul, they look at the world a little bit differently, right? A little bit higher of a frequency. They think a little bit bigger. They realize that there is more out there for them. So for me, that's what it's all about. And that's how I measure success, fulfillment, and all that, to make sure that I'm fulfilling my assignment, which I believe is to create platforms where people understand that reinvention is ready when they are. Literally, no matter where you are in your life, no matter what you've been through, as long as you realize that you're here for more and you're committed to the process, you can reinvent yourself at any time. And just to be clear, reinvention doesn't necessarily have to mean a career change, although it was for me. It could also be an upgraded identity. You can reinvent the way that you show up in this world, and that's massive.
Oh, I love this. Can you feel the hope and inspiration, guys, that it's possible no matter where we are, feeling unsuccessful or already feeling successful, we can always reinvent ourselves. And isn't that such a critical part of the human experience? I believe we're here to grow, to learn, to evolve, and to experience. And when we do give ourselves permission to continue to evolve, a lot of things will fall off. The old identity and the attachments that no longer serve will naturally fall off. And then we're stepping into a new version of ourselves. And I love this as well. I know there's so much wisdom around the values, right? And we say, you know, to live a happy life, we have to live in alignment with our values. And you mentioned it before, you said it in different ways. It's literally just finding out what it is that you love, what it is that inspires you, that drives you. For you, Craig, we talk about impact, right? And this is powerful because that's a vision. Like, how many people can I help? And of course, then be helped by helping them. It's by universal law. But when we talk about values and people living in alignment with those values, I'm a bit off the cuff here, but I know you're big on this, and this is really good. What would you say when it comes to knowing one's values or knowing what we're passionate about and bringing that to life? What's the process that you would recommend to people when you speak from stages on finding happiness or fulfillment when it comes to values?
Identify them, right? Like, what are your core values? What is the message that you want to gravitate towards other people? When people hear you speak, right? Like, what do they feel? What is the feeling that you create, right? Like, what kind of message do you want to deliver? How do you want somebody to operate after having made your acquaintance? And so for me, the values is number one, obviously integrity. At this point in my life, I want to do the right thing. I'm a very transparent cat these days. I'm also very vulnerable, which was challenging for me, but I realized that the more vulnerable I am, the more I can connect with the community, the audience, and also it's liberating, straight up. Like, I'm an open book. But I want people straight up to know about reinvention. I want them to lead with the heart, and I want people to want to make an impact and to contribute. And so those are my values. And then obviously, if you go beyond that in terms of like, what does CLS stand for? Obviously, like, when people always ask, like, who do you look up to? Like, I look up to a good husband or a good fiance, which I am now, someone who doesn't cheat on their wife, like somebody who does the right things, a good parent, a good son, whatever the case may be, somebody that's been through some stuff and has perspective. Let me just be very clear. I wasn't always the Craig that you see before you here today. I've made mistakes. I'm not proud of some of the things I've done in the past, but I think everybody goes through stuff like that. But can you get to a point where you acknowledge that, you're aware of it, and now you want to change, and all the things that you went through have actually qualified you to speak to the people that you used to be? And those are my values, straight up.
Boom. Truth bump moment. Oh, there it is.
Good.
Okay, guys. Again, just reiterating, identifying your values first. What are your values? What is it that makes your heart sing, right? So taking the moment to grab the pen and paper and writing down what you believe those are. Dude, I love that. I love how you can see that shift. And I loved how you shared some of your values, because imparting some of the wisdom of the teachings, that we have embodied can really help people. And coming back to the authenticity and the vulnerability. I mean, really, if you're smart, this is my opinion. As a speaker now, we're on stage in front of a lot of people, you and I, and you can be a great polished speaker, and you can deliver, say the right things, and use the right, NLP tools, and then, sell something. It doesn't feel good when you sell it. People, 99% of speakers or famous people on stage will do it this way, the old way. And so the mind goes, oh, that's a really polished speaker. That's really good. But it's when you hear someone speak on a live stage or a podcast or interview like this, where you see that they are indeed allowing themselves to be raw, real, and vulnerable. That is when you create connection. Because connection is not just about, I said something, you liked it, now we have somewhat of rapport. For me, I believe connection is a heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul, head, like my connection. And it shows, like you beautifully said before, it allows us to see that we are, humans, simple beings that have achieved some great things. And that is the same for every single person. So vulnerability and using, and that's why I teach the stuff in the quantum field, because when I'm connecting to my students, I'm connecting from that place of authenticity and vulnerability. And that has been, this is like a hack for anyone that wants to really, one, have impact, influence, and help people, and two, also be able to get your message out to the world. It really comes down to vulnerability and allowing yourself to be seen in that space. I really thank you for bringing that up, bro, because that's what I think a lot of people today that are striving for success, that are up and coming, I think that's the missing piece. That's the piece that people both need and also other people want to see from them. So when it comes to that with you, what do you feel right now are the next big moves for you coming ahead? What are you up to next?
Yeah, I thought you'd never ask, right?
Hey, go.
So the podcast has exploded. We have a couple million downloads now. We found some of the world's biggest celebrities, business tycoons, entrepreneurs, movie stars, athletes, and of course, Dr. Espen. We're sponsored now by Mark Cuban. I just actually launched an intensive on how to grow, scale, and monetize your podcast, which I just want to give back. The podcast has opened so many doors for me and so many opportunities because it enabled us to extend our reach far beyond the people that were just in my typical community. So I'm really big on that. Obviously, the CLS membership, the community with over 400 people, we meet every week. And I haven't really publicly said this yet, but it feels like the right time. We just signed a really big book deal with a major publishing house. And the book is getting worked on as we speak. And that thing will be coming out probably the beginning of 2023, which I'm really excited about. And then the last answer is speaking. I feel as though when I'm on stage, it's most exhilarating for me and it gives me the best opportunity to really transfer that energy, which I know you're all about as well. So just more, extending the reach, more impact, and helping reinvent more people straight up.
Beautiful, bro. Okay, I've got a question for you right off the cuff. And I want you just to really feel, breathe, take your time. And then when you're ready, just share, right? So this is how it goes. I want you now to imagine that you're on the world stage. There are hundreds of thousands of people there. They're all gathered and they're holding noble silence because those souls are there to witness and to receive the message that you have to share. So whenever you're ready, brother, share your message to the world at this time.
If you're not where you'd like to be at this time, or you're not where you thought you might be, forgive yourself. Let it go. Shed yourself of those old stories, identity, of that old skin. All that matters is what are we going to do next? What is the next move? That's all that matters. If you believe you're here for more, which spoiler, you are, we all are, and you're committed to the process, meaning that there might be obstacles, there might be some pain involved, but we know that it happens for us, and that's what qualifies us. if you know you're meant for more and you're committed to the process, you can reinvent yourself at any time, no matter how old you are or where you are in your life. It starts right now as long as you believe in it. That's it.
Boom. And so it is. Lives have changed because they made that decision in that moment. Beautiful.
And
Beautiful,
I just
beautiful.
want to acknowledge, I love that your and I's stories, of course, not exactly the same because we've been through different things, but similar concepts, right? On having success, and I put in quotations, but feeling empty and unfulfilled, and then turning to a place of service and impact and contribution. And it's just a beautiful journey. And I don't think anybody has it all figured out right out the gate. Everybody has to go through something. But it's just really not a coincidence that yours and I's are somewhat similar, and probably one of the many reasons why there's such a special connection here between you and I.
It's awesome, brother. And it really, I love how you speak to the authenticity piece and also the contribution piece, because when you really recognize through universal law that we're all connected, the number one law of the 12 universal laws is the law of oneness. It means that when you're serving others, you're in essence also serving yourself. So this might be a message to those out there who, one, are not inspired about your life, or two, don't believe that what you're doing is actually serving people and making the world a better place. It's never too late to change. In fact, Craig just gave us that permission then. Now, right now, this is the time to change. I absolutely love it, my man. Okay. When you're moving forward in your life right now and you're continuing with this level of service, what are some of the things that you love to do? I mean, outside of work, what that really light your and really inspire you in the world at the moment?
Yeah, so again, I'm signed up for the Chicago Marathon. Ironically enough, last year when I had the tumor in my foot, I was signed up for Chicago. That one I couldn't run because I literally still had stitches in my foot. But that's when I started diving into the quantum, and then New York City just a couple of weeks later became a possibility. I ended up running it, running the fastest I ever ran. But Chicago is this Sunday. I really leveled up. I realized that what got me here is now what's going to get me there. Right? If the audience can't see, I'm making a hand motion. And so I reached out to my fiance's brother, who runs with all these crazy Olympians in like Central Park on Sundays. I had always been a lone wolf when it came to running. I got this, I'll do my thing. But it was really time to take uncomfortable action. I reached out to them. I started training with them. These guys are gazelles. I mean, they're so fast. It's uncomfortable. At first I had imposter syndrome, but they can't lose me. I'm hanging right there with them. And as a result, even though I was the slowest one to begin with, now I'm leveling up so much. I'm running at a different capacity than I ever thought possible. Is it really my physical endurance that's changed, or is it my perception of effort and what I think to be possible for myself? So I'm really excited to see what happens this Sunday. No predictions. I'm just grateful for the opportunity. But the whole point of this message is I think it's really good for people to put something in the calendar that genuinely scares the hell out of you, that forces you to level up. Because what it does, and it doesn't have to be a marathon, it could be anything. But for example, when you put that in there, now you reverse engineer, what does that make you do? Discipline, structure, eat better, get more rest, be healthy, cut down on the booze, whatever the case may be. It's just good to have something that you're looking forward to. So aside from CLS business, I'm recently engaged. I love my fiance. I'm just
Congratulations.
Thank you, but I'm so excited about that. The book deal, obviously, but not CLS stuff. Running marathons really lights me up, because I found running at a point a couple of years back when I was in a dark place, and I'm just romantic about it. It's a beautiful, pure sport. It's just you versus that voice in your head. Just like life, it's a metaphor to me. So that's something that really lights me up. And for anyone listening to this, I'm not sure when it's going to air, but you can obviously download the Chicago Marathon app and come along and track us on the journey this Sunday.
Beautiful. Now, you know, I love this, and I knew that you were going to say something of this nature, because that's where I really wanted to take this. We got this last message. We got it. Okay. I felt it. I received it. I know it's possible for me, or people out there know it's possible for them. And now you're talking about setting a goal or to achieve something. Now, this is really, really, really cool. I notice in my life as an athlete, if I have a goal to work towards, as a business person, if I have a goal to work towards, then all of the how takes care of itself when I've got a big why. So this is really good. To wrap it up, the question for the viewers and listeners is, what is your goal? What do you really want to achieve? And Craig said it beautifully, that stretch goal that is, hang on, he just had surgery. And then he goes, you know, he can't run the first one. So now he's really craving to run the next one. He's craving to run the next one because he couldn't run the first one. It's often not until things are taken away from us that we realize how much we have to be blessed with. So right now, what goals can you set in your life for your physical health, mental, emotional, financial, relationship, business, whatever it might be, that's going to drive you to get to that next level? Bro, we're going to be with you on this run. Your body's going to hold up so beautifully. And I loved your analogy. When you run, it's not about just physical fitness or endurance. It's about you versus the voice in your head. I absolutely love that, because that voice we all have. And if we know that we can overcome those challenges by setting goals that are indeed at a stretch, that is going to create and develop character. I love that.
Yeah, hell yeah. And nobody's exempt from that. That's why it's so beautiful, because it's just an analogy and it's a metaphor. At any season of life, we all get that voice, that imposter syndrome, that ego. But we have to have systems in place to block out the interference so that we can stay abundant and stay a vibrational match for all the goodness out there.
Amen, brother. Okay, final words. Tell us, where can our viewers and listeners go to find out more about you and the CLS experience and check out your podcast, etc.? Where do you want them to go?
Yeah, come say hello on Instagram at Craig Siegel _CLS, the YouTube channel Craig Siegel, and our website, cultivatelastingsymphony.com. You can sign up for our membership, the podcast program, one-on-one coaching, all that good jazz. And then anywhere you listen to podcasts, the CLS experience. Enjoy the show.
Absolutely amazing. And our interview is there as well, when we go through a deep discussion into the quantum field, and where we connect. And dude, we enjoyed it, both of us. That was a privilege. Any final words, bro? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I want to acknowledge you. I love you, buddy. You're awesome. You're on fire. You're making a big difference. And there's a lot of people out there that talk about this quantum stuff, this energy, because it's become a little trendy, let's be honest, over the last year or so. But there's just something different about the way you deliver it. You make it very digestible. It's very obvious that not only do you believe in it, but you want to help people for the right reasons. And when I came across your content, it was a pivotal moment in my life, if I'm being honest, because I've heard this stuff so many different times from different people. But you spoke to my soul. So you were doing something really, really right. And then from you speaking to me, I then passed on that knowledge that I accumulated and passed it on to so many millions more. So because there's an old expression, like, with the impact that you're making, you're only really ever going to know 10% of it, because 90% don't even let you know. They don't comment your stuff. You're just not familiar. You don't know. But I want you to know that you are affecting, in the best way possible, a whole lot of people, brother. I appreciate you. I'm so excited to continue to build the friendship. And you're going to be only one of 2 humans ever to come back on the CLS experience for a sequel, which I'm really excited about, because we have so much more to dive in on.
Dude, that's brilliant. Good luck on your marathon. May you have wind underneath your wings, you legend. Thank you so much for your time today. Go and check out the CLS experience. There's some absolutely awesome interviews there, with Craig interviewing many different legends from all over the different walks of life. So go and check that out, guys, and reach out to him if you have any questions. And once again, thanks so much for taking the time, bro. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Till next time, guys.